Hello, all of my Year 4 lovelies. I hope you are really, really well. I hope that you're coping much better with the heat than I am. I melt considerably as soon as it gets above like 2 degrees. But there is a solution to that, and it's a solution I use to every single one of life's problems, and that is to make yourself a delicious cup of tea. So before we begin, make yourself a cup of tea, make your family a cup of tea, sit down, have a think, enjoy it, and then we can get back to our home learning this week, which is an amazing subject. It's one of my absolute favourite subjects to teach and to learn about, and that is statistics. It's about data handling, which means you're going to look at information. You're going to look at some graphs and some charts. You're going to try and understand. You're going to try and interpret, which means read and understand what these graphs are telling you. And maybe you have to answer some questions based on the information. You might even be asked to make some predictions about some information. Can you spot any patterns? And that's kind of one of my favorite areas of numeracy, is those pattern spottings and those making predictions based on what you see. So the first type of graph we're going to come across is called a pictogram. Now, a pictogram is right here, and the pictogram is a chart in which numbers are represented by pictures. That's why it's called a pictogram. In this chart here, one ice cream cone is 2 ice creams. So here, that's 2, that's 2, that's 2, and that's 2. So in total, there are 8 vanilla ice creams that have been sold. Not 4, it's 8, because each of those cones is actually worth 2. Same for chocolate, each of those is worth 2. Now, on the strawberry one, you might notice that one of these ice cream cones has been cut in half, and that's because this number here isn't an even number. It's not a nice easy number for this ice cream cone to represent. So they've had to cut this ice cream cone in half. Now, if one ice cream cone represents 2 ice creams, then half an ice cream cone must represent half of that. So half of 2 is you're going to have to answer that one for me. That's too difficult for me. Anyway, you're going to have to go through some of these questions. You're getting really amazing at spotting people's mistakes. Now, I've always told you guys I will lie all the time to you in lessons to see if you can trick me out. See if you can, pick me up and go, hey, Mr. Sheffield, you're lying. I don't think you're right because... And then the moment you say because, that means I know you understand this. So you're getting amazing at telling me why these people are wrong, okay? Keep that up. It's really, really good to see. The last part of this is to draw your own. It says 7 mint choc ice creams were sold. Can you draw ice cream cones that represent the number 7? Right, second type of chart is a bar chart. And bar charts usually used to represent numbers of things, countable kind of things. And this one shows children who went on holiday to some different countries. And you can see that, well, apparently no one went to Italy, which is quite sad. But lots of people went on UK holidays, which is great. Not many people went on USA holidays. So straight away, without even looking at the numbers, I can kind of get a picture of who went to which country and which ones were most popular. So read the numbers, fill the table in, and then it says complete a pictogram. So exactly the same information, but using circles to represent 4 children instead. Okay. Now, if you're using one circle to represent 4 children, you've got to think about how you're going to represent 2 children. So what's half of a circle? Well, half of a circle is 2. Great. Okay, so we can represent 2 children now. What about if you needed to represent 1 child or 3 children? How would you divide that circle up to represent that number of children? Okay, you've got some more bar charts here. And you've got one really cool bar chart down here. It says, use the clues to label the bar chart. It's about football teams and their popularity. Now, I'm a big Leeds United fan, so obviously, without even reading the data, I can tell you that Leeds United are going to be the biggest amount. But I'm probably wrong on that. So you're going to have to think carefully, look at the clues, sort them out. And then you've got some charts and tables that have been created with some data, and you've got to link the correct table to the correct data, the correct graph. Okay, so here's the information that goes in the graph, here are the graphs, and you've got to link each one to each one. So First day, just interpreting. You're kind of understanding, you're reading the graphs. The second day is very similar, but you're going to have to answer some next level questions about the graphs. So it's not just read the information and see what these numbers are. You're going to be asked questions like how many more? So how many more visitors went to the museum on Tuesday than on Wednesday? Well, here's Tuesday, here's Wednesday. So on Wednesday there were 3, and on Tuesday there were 14. So how many more means, well, on Wednesday there were 3, Tuesday there were 14. How many do I have to add to 3 to get to 14? Or you could do a find the difference, you know, a 14 take away 3, and that will give you this gap here. Okay, so you're basically looking for how much is this gap worth. Part B, again, it's using that key phrase, what's the difference? Okay, so take the biggest number and the smallest number, subtract the smallest number from the biggest number, that will give you the difference. Okay, or what you could do, just like I suggested, you could start down here and you could count on until you get to the top. Okay, what's the total number of visits for the whole week? So add everything up. And if there were 3 times as many visitors on a Saturday as they were on Thursday, how many people would visit? So again, using what you know, can you answer a question about some extra information you've been given? Okay, and you've got some pictograms to ask questions about as well. So again, you've been given a shape that is worth 4 points, and some of these shapes have been divided equally into different amounts. Okay, so this one here is 3/4 of one of those shapes. It's not 4, but it's not half, so it's not 2. I wonder what number's in between 2 and 4. Oh, tricky one this week, tricky one. And again, you've got some more simple bar charts and pictograms and things to analyze. Day 3 is now getting on to something we haven't looked before in school, and these are called line graphs. Now, line graphs are one of my favorite kinds of graphs. They're very, very useful for making predictions, and they usually deal with how things change over time. So this one here, the line graph shows the growth of some crests over 10 days. And look, you can see along the bottom here, it gives the number of days. And then along the side, it gives you the height of that crest over those days. Okay, so here it says, how tall was the crest on day 2? Well, each of these, I'm going to zoom in for this one though. Each of these points, these little crosses here, we haven't drawn big bars up to them. We haven't drawn pictures of the crest or anything like that. We've just done a little mark on our graph, and we know that we can start plotting the growth of the crest, and you can start making predictions. You can think, oh, I wonder, in day 12, I wonder how tall it would be. Well, it looks like it's growing really quickly there, but it looks like it's going to start slowing down growing. So maybe it might not be this tall, it might just be this tall. We don't know. That's the joy of these line graphs. You can kind of make a little bit of prediction. On what day did the crest reach 10 centimeters? So here's 10, and you go across until you find the correct day. Estimate. So here is where these line graphs really come into play. Estimate the height of the crest on day 5. So whoever was recording the height of the crest recorded it on day 4 and day 6, but didn't do it on day 5. Now that's a problem, but we can estimate because we've got this line that we've drawn here as part of the line graph that we can use to think, oh yeah, well, I suppose if I did take a measurement, it looks like it would have gone there. Okay, so we can do something called interpolation. Basically means you're guessing a number inside the set of data you've already got. Again, some more estimating, and it says between which 2 consecutive days, that means which 2 days in a row, did the crest grow the most? So which 2 days do you think the crest grew the fastest? Again, you've got some more examples of line graphs here, and you've got to plot your own line graph here using some data. So again, all of these line graphs, they're talking about time and how things change over time. It could be temperature of the country over the year. It could be the height of you over a year or 5 years or 10 years. It could be how much money is in your bank account, which, you know, over time goes down and down and down and down. But again, you've got some estimating to do, you've got some interpolation, you might even have some extrapolation where you have to go off the end of the graph to make a bit of a prediction. Because it's a new subject, again, take your time, make yourself a cup of tea, sit down, have a think, ask your parents for help, okay? And the very last day on the line graphs is how very similar to, you know, how on day one we were just interpreting charts, we were just looking at them, and day two we were doing some deeper understanding and answering some more questions about them. Day three we introduced the line graphs, and day four we were kind of taking that next step, and you're going to ask some more questions, answer some more questions about the line graphs. You've even got a use your clues to complete the line graph, and look, all of these tiny little squares here. When the scale changes, you're going to have to think about how much each of those tiny squares is worth. Okay, so here's 500. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 sections here. 5 sections, 5 equal sections that this, from 0 to 500, has been divided into 5 equal sections. So 500 has been divided by 5. So that gives you a little clue as to how much each of those tiny squares is worth, okay? Just a little clue. As always, if you have any questions, email us, ask your friends, put it on the blog, everything you need to do. I know you guys are absolutely smashing it. You're doing really, really well. We're all super, super proud of you and cannot wait to see you again. So thank you for everything you're doing. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep your head held high and keep making cups of tea. See you later.